Welcome, everybody, to episode 93 of the Can Mayonnaise Kill a Jedi podcast. I am your co-host, Darth Celine.
And I'm your main host, the Artificial Dragon. And yes, welcome to episode 93 of our podcast. We are getting ever closer to the 100th episode of this podcast.
Also, I got that in one take!
Yeah, no blooper reels from you for this one, Hannah. But yes, what that episode topic will be, we'll just have to wait for our future versions to worry about that. But in the meantime, welcome to our 93rd episode of a podcast, everybody. By the time this is uploaded, it will be way past July 4th, so happy late July 4th, all of our Americans.
As of this recording, it is July 2nd.
Yeah.
So happy 4th of July to all of our fellow Americans.
Indeed. Hope you're having a wonderful time with friends and family. I definitely know I'm going to be working, and I'm going to be getting that sweet holiday pay.
Luckily, I have off, but I'm probably just going to be sleeping in or cleaning anyway.
Yeah, that is fair. Before we get into our special Patreon episode, we're going to do the obligatory self-promotion. If you guys love our content, we have a Patreon at patreon.com/canmail. Once again, that's patreon.com/canmail. You can contribute to any amount, the lowest being $2 and the highest being $10. The Discord server is open to the public. Anybody can join. If you want to talk about general Star Wars lore, share memes, or just chill out with me, my co-host, you could go there for that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And for this month's, well, technically last month's Patreon art piece, we have our lovely Sith waifu, Lana Beniko, who is tired of the main character shit.
She's tired of the commander shit. She is done.
Yeah, she's pulled your ass out of the fire multiple times, and she is drinking her cup of calf.
Yep, she's like, I need Calf to deal with the commander's bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. But she's pulling it through despite her misgivings. But yeah, download her with the highest tier Patreon. You could download her, put her on your background wallpaper for your phone, or print her out as your poster, whatever you would like. And you'll also have... Bless you, Hannah. You'll also have access to our previous Patreon posters. All of them are great. My personal favorite is Cad Bane, as well as Empress Lacris. How about yours, Hannah?
I think we all know who my favorites are.
Yep.
Exar Kun and Darth Maul.
Yeah, Exar Kun and Darth Maul are definitely your favorites. Yeah.
Oh, fuck. We have too many that are good.
We always have variety for both sides of the sexes on this podcast, Hannah.
Oh, yeah.
But with that aside, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of our highest tier patrons. We have Alan Lee, Alan Martinez, Balin Thorne, Y Wolves, Dr. Embaz, Gomez, Lee Fott, Milo, Stardust, and Tristan H. Thank you, everybody, so much for contributing to our podcast for the past 3 years, and I hope you are all looking forward to more content like this. But before I get over to Hannah's side of things, I do have a couple of interesting updates. I have been in the works for creating some merch for people to buy. I've been looking at a couple of different companies. There's Teesprings.
Yep, you've been telling me about this shit.
Yeah. That kind of fell through because they were behind on their production for whatever reason. I got a new company, which is called fourthwall.com. They approached me personally, and I decided to create a couple of designs, and I ordered a sample, which... came in just today.
Awesome!
It's a very simple design. I'll probably put a picture of it somewhere in the podcast or in the Discord channel.
Right here.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it came out pretty well. It's still in its little bit of packaging, so I'll probably put it on my desktop over there for viewing purposes. But I think it came out relatively well. What do you think, Hannah?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, just
it's
our little
mayo droid.
Yeah, it's just our little mayo droid. We're going to be starting off very simple, very affordable, not any copyright things. Yeah, nothing too big and nothing too distinguishing that says this is Star Wars related.
Yeah. Because obviously then Disney would come after our asses.
Yeah. So we gotta play safe. We gotta start small. But I'm very excited for this new line of products thus far.
Oh, hell yeah. For anybody who's wondering why the Mayo droid has a lightsaber, that is a reference to Star Wars Alternate.
Yeah, specifically Kit's Jedi character, Haname, thank you. I almost forgot his character's name. But yes, that is a nice little reference with a Mayo droid as well as our D&D campaign. But yeah, just thought I'd throw that in real quickly. Let me know if you would like more merch or if you have any other merch ideas for me, and we'll see if we could get some more samples and see if we could get this off of the ground.
Oh, hell yeah. That would be so cool if we could start selling merch, even if it's just stickers.
Yeah, just stickers for now, but don't you worry. There will be shirts. There will be additional things like coffee mugs and stuff like that.
Hell yes. I'm so hyped for that.
Me too, Hannah. Me too. Now, Hannah, your own self-promotion.
Shit's been going sideways at the cantina right now.
You don't say!
Celine went on, I went on vacation.
Yes, you did.
Quote unquote.
To Alderaan, yeah.
And shit's going sideways.
That's putting it mildly, Hannah.
A certain creation that yours truly came up with has been let loose by some unknown entity, so... yeah.
Yeah, we're going to look forward to how that plot is resolved.
Well, while I try to figure that out, please send in questions, send in asks. Preferably something that is not an utter mindfuck.
Hey, on the bright side, Hannah, Golan hasn't been doing anything except getting himself a date, quote unquote.
Yes, latest character that I have among the last 4 of the 30 that I have. Mm-hmm. She is a Mirialan, but she is quote unquote a Zeltron.
Yep. You just painted a Mirialan purple for us.
No, she's red.
She's red. Okay, that makes... Why am I thinking purple? Whatever. Yeah, she...
Colorblind.
Acting like a dog over here, not realizing which color is which right now. But yes, she's got herself a Zoltron, quote-unquote a Marilyn, but yes, a Zoltron.
She's a Mirialan, but she is a quote-unquote Zeltron.
Yeah, which I think is awesome.
Yes, please go check out the cantina and send in questions and asks. That would be great,
Mm-hmm.
and I greatly appreciate it. It helps me work on my writing jobs.
Exactly. It's always a fun time when you actually get nice questions coming in.
Not utter mindfucks like what I have been presented.
Oh, my poor co-host. We're all suffering today. But yes, with our self-promotions out of the way.
Warning! This episode will contain a lot of swearing.
Spoiler alert, there's always going to be there is always going to be swearings in each one of these episodes, but we're making a distinct caption for this one.
Of course, we have to.
We always have to. But yes, Hannah, what is the subject of today's episode?
Ladies and germs, we are covering the BAMF himself, Mace Windu.
Mace Windu, yes, probably one of the most controversial members of the Jedi High Council in the prequel trilogy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, this episode was voted for by our lovely longtime supporter, Dr. Mboss. Mace Windu is definitely an interesting character for this podcast.
I think it's about time we covered him.
I think it's about time, yeah. We have been kind of neglectful for a lot of heroes in the Star Wars universe.
I know, but you dread them because this is going to take forever.
Particularly with movie characters, Hannah. Like when we talked about Dooku, Padme, who's another one I could pull up? Technically Yaddle.
When we talk about Luke, Leia, and Han, it's going to be so long.
I'm going to have a motherfucking stroke when we get around to Leia, Luke, or Han Solo.
Yep. But we have to eventually do it, just like we have to eventually do the Mandalorians.
In the meantime, we're just going to be focusing on the lesser parts of Star Wars. But this is not that day. This is the day where we talk about the more popular stuffs of Star Wars. Characters of Star Wars. And in this case, Mace Windu, before I get into him, Hannah, what do you know about the good man himself?
He is the creator of the lightsaber form Vapaad. He is the only member of the Jedi Order, at least in the prequel trilogy to use a purple lightsaber because he is canonically balance between the light and the dark.
Yep.
But mainly, Sam Jackson just wanted a purple lightsaber to look badass.
Out of universe, yes, that is very true.
Hey, you're asking me what I know.
Yeah, that is very true. Like, it's kind of funny, like, George Lucas was all like, the good guys have green, blue, that's
blue.
Always how it's been. And then Samuel L. Jackson's like,
purple.
Can I have purple? I'll see what I can
We
do.
can make it work.
I think it's also, I remember reading behind the scenes stuff, and Samuel L. Jackson adds that specifically so that he's easily spotted in the crowd scenes. And all that.
Fuck yeah. But
which makes a whole lot of sense.
even with like, okay, I'm not saying this to be insensitive, but the purple against his skin, it looks better.
Yeah, it does.
That's
That's your own personal opinion. I understand, Hannah. I completely understand.
it makes him look unique.
It does. It really does. Even though it might look a little bit gay, I think we're in that generation where purple is acceptable, and it makes him look badass.
Ooh, when and where and who the fuck said purple was a feminine color? Fucking fight me.
Well, it's more of a royalty color historically, but I know there's plenty of people that don't like purple.
Anyway.
But yes, Mace Windu, he's definitely a very interesting character, to say the very, very least.
Oh yeah, that's sugarcoating it.
Yeah, that's sugarcoating it a huge amount, Hannah. But before we get into talking about the good man himself, I'm going to give you the honors of reading one of his quotes, Hannah.
Okay.
It's a pretty simple one, and it pretty much talks about him as a character.
Remember that war is like a fire across the galaxy. It spreads and it consumes. We must never waver in the face of that fire. We are keepers of the peace. We are Jedi. The Republic needs us more than ever, which means our faith in the Force, our connection to the Force, must never waver.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah, that quote gives a good indication of how steadfast Mace Windu is in his belief of the Force.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to put it simply, as we'll go into this episode, Mace Windu, if Master Yoda is basically the chill grandpa that gives you treats every once in a while, Mace Windu
is the serious uncle.
Yeah, pretty much the serious uncle, and to put it simply, he has a massive stick up his ass.
This is why him and Ki-Adi-Mundi don't get along with Anakin. Everyone's like, oh, he's an asshole. Duh.
But like Mace Windu, he's that way for a reason.
He is that way for a reason.
Yeah, for arguably a very good reason. But we'll get to that in a little bit. I'm going to do another disclaimer because I know a lot of people are going to be asking, why aren't you talking about this thing about Mace Windu? Why don't you talk about this story of Mace Windu?
Again, Cliff Notes.
Yeah, this is the Cliff Notes version. As with every episode we do on movie characters who have a long-ass history that spans wider than this entire room that we're in.
If y'all want to go see the deep shit about Mace Windu, go look on Wikipedia.
Yeah, exactly. It is
Have a fun time.
Yeah, either canon or legends. It's always going to be a long-ass article.
Yep.
But anyway, we're going to be talking about Mace Windu as a character and the broad strokes of what makes Mace Windu Mace Windu.
Oh, hell yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to do a little bit of the behind-the-scenes stuff, because those are always fun. As we all know, Mace Windu is a significant character from the prequel trilogy of Star Wars, famously portrayed by Samuel L. Jackson.
The badass motherfucker himself.
Yeah, and it's also kind of funny that Samuel L. Jackson is a massive fan of the Star Wars franchise.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, like there was that famous interview, I think it was like Saturday Night Live or something like that, where he was all like, oh, so I'm going to be part of his new Star Wars movie. He's going through the script. He's like, oh, I'm a Jedi Master? Oh, and I'm talking to Yoda? All right, I'm down. Yeah, he was legitimately excited when he was playing this Jedi Master character that he didn't know would have such a popularity in the fan base.
Oh, hell yeah.
Though Mace Windu, the character, so I find this kind of interesting because there is another character that dates all the way back to the original outline of the Star Wars movie with a character Okay, so the original outline written by George Lucas back in 1973, by the way.
Fucking ages ago.
Yeah, ages ago, when it was originally called The Journey of the Wills Part 1.
I've actually never heard about the pre-production stuff, so
Yeah,
this is interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting points. Like, Luke Skywalker's original name was Luke Starkiller.
So that's where Starkiller came from.
Exactly, yes. Once again, Star Wars having a long tradition of reusing old names and concepts.
But like the pre-production and concepts,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, exactly. And there's this one character from that outline, a character by the name of Mace Windu.
Windy, okay.
Yeah, not Windu, Windy. And apparently he was one of the Jedi Bendu, who served as a warlord to the chairman of the Alliance of Independent Systems.
Oh, so he was on the opposite side.
Yes, he was. And then later down the line, Windu would come again in another character by the name of Mace Windu, who is this character from the Ewok movies.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay, Mace Windu
Yeah.
sounds like he would have fit right in with the Spaceballs crew.
Yeah, that is true. That is actually true.
Yeah,
Mace Windu.
Note here, I finally watched Spaceballs.
Yes, you did.
I fucking loved it. And Spaceballs 2!
Yeah, looking forward to Spaceballs 2 for the win.
So hyped for it. Anyway, what the hell?
Yeah, that's the character Mace Windu.
Okay.
But yeah, and also additional behind the scenes stuff. Before the Attack of the Clones, Mace Windu didn't have his purple lightsaber. In the comics that were around before Attack of the Clones, he was usually wielding a blue lightsaber.
Okay.
Yeah, so it another indication of Samuel L. Jackson influencing the look of Mace Windu as the years goes on.
Oh, hell yeah.
But yeah, also there's this nice little piece of concept art, which this was originally supposed to be Mace Windu's look, by the way.
Why does he look like a Pike?
You know, now that you point that out, yeah, he kind of
looks like
does.
he's part of the Pike Syndicate.
Yeah, now that you point that out, he kind of does look like he's a member of a Pike Syndicate.
Or at the very least, some sort of weird fucking Sith.
Yeah, it kind of does. But fortunately, it didn't go down that way. However, this very concept art was reused for another character that was introduced in the Clone Wars TV show, a Jedi doctor by the name of Rig Nema, who you might recognize from the the Force Ghost arc.
I could see that. That's actually a really cool design.
Yeah, and she's additionally she was voiced by the voice actress who voiced Padme.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's actually. I always like the idea of reusing old concept art for future pieces.
Oh yeah, it's like there's potential here. We need to fucking use it.
Exactly, like with Chopper when he was the foundation for the original concept piece for R2-D2 back in New Hope.
I love that.
Yeah, I always like that too.
How funny that they both commit war crimes.
Yeah, I know. Jesus Christ. But yeah, after the Disney buyout and the announcement of a sequel trilogy, Samuel L. Jackson expressed interest in reprising his role as Mace Windu.
Even though he fucking died.
Yeah, I know, but he kind of opted in like he would return as a Force ghost here and there, which, makes a lot of sense.
Fair.
And he actually does make a brief voice appearance of The Rise of Skywalker.
As all the other fucking Jedi do,
Yep.
blah, 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 blah.
Yep, and
Massive fucking eye roll.
but he also talked about interest because this is a long-lasting fan theory for the longest time. Like, did Mace Windu actually die, or
Because
did he survive?
We only saw him get yeeted out of
yeah,
fucking
he just
window.
got yeeted out, and we know many Jedi or Force users survived worse.
Yes. So there is potential that he could have survived.
Yeah.
I've seen that theory.
Yeah, and Samuel L. Jackson kind of leaned in when he was talking about a possible spin-off series for Star Wars, like the Solo, Rogue One. Maybe there's one for Mace Windu and talking about his survival and all that.
A Shatterpoint miniseries.
That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Yes.
But yeah,
Can't wait to get into the Shatterpoint stuff.
yeah, and as of course with a lot of things in this podcast, this is more fan content. But there is a fellow Star Wars YouTuber called Star Wars Wars Theory that actually is currently producing this fan series called Vader. The first episode has been out for a while, but the second episode, basically the rundown is Vader is after Jedi survivors. He goes back to Naboo, and in the second episode is when he actually faces Mace Windu himself.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's actually a brief little trailer of Mace Windu killing a bunch of clone troopers, and it's badass as hell.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
And let me go ahead and send you a screenshot of Mace Windu in this fan series. It actually looks pretty cool.
So that's where that came from. I thought that was an AI-generated image.
No, that's been around since 2022.
That's cool.
Yeah. Still currently in production, so it hasn't been released yet, but I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah. But yeah, with the behind-the-scenes stuff aside, let's get into...
No, one more behind-the-scenes tidbit.
Okay, go for it.
Samuel L. of course, everybody knows this, but Samuel L. Jackson himself has a replica of Mace Windu's lightsaber engraved with "Bad Motherfucker."
Badass motherfucker. Oh man, what? I would pay good many money to go back in time and just explore the behind the scenes set of a prequel trilogy.
I've seen some of the pictures, like fucking Liam Neeson in the desert with a fucking do-rag and sunglasses on in the Qui-Gon outfit.
Yeah.
It's like, Qui-Gon got too hot.
Yeah, that is very true, especially when you're in the middle of the African desert.
Yep.
Anyway, but yeah, with the behind-the-scenes stuff aside, let's talk about Mace Windu and his history.
Yes, let's actually get into the lore of the character.
Yeah. So Mace Windu is a Korean human Jedi Master who was born in 72 years before the Battle of Yavin. So around the time of Revenge of the Sith, he was relatively 52 years old.
He was pretty good looking for 52.
Oh yeah, he definitely had that athletic physique going on there. And he was born on the mid-rim world of Haram Khal. I'm going to send you a quick picture of what Haram Khal looks like. I want your general impression. What kind of characteristics do you think this world conveys in that picture?
The way the picture looks, it looks like it's made out of scales.
It kind of does, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's just the way it's presented.
Yeah, I know it's a little bit low quality, but on first impression, what I was going with, it kind of looks like an ocean world, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, but I'm seeing a peninsula or an island bunch here in the center, so...
Yeah.
An Earth.
Yeah,
it is an Earth.
Well, yeah, I could generally see that, but Haram Khal, it has interesting characteristics. So the ocean that you are seeing, that isn't water. That's a sea of toxic gas.
What the fuck?
Yep. Which is wrapping around the mountains and plateaus, which are both basically the only land masses that could support life on that entire planet.
Jesus fucking Christ, that sounds like Quesh.
Yeah. For all of our 40K fans, Mace Windu was literally born on a deaf world. Yeah. But yeah, all native humans of his world, who are colloquially called the Koronai, otherwise known as Uplanders, are also all Force sensitive.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they're all Force sensitives. Now, of course, there are many in-universe theories of how this phenomenon came to be, but the most popular one, according to the Jedi High Council, is that a starship transporting Jedi Knights during the Great Sith War crash landed on the world, marooning them, and that's where they propagated.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, they all had Jedi Knights in their ancestry at one point in their time.
Interesting. That's cool.
It is pretty cool. And eventually, so Mace Windu himself would be born within the Gosh Windu clan. And at that moment, there would be Jedi anthropologists, because, you know, this requires further study and all of that, like a bunch of Force sensitives,
like, this shit's sus. Let's go check this out.
Yeah, it is pretty sus. Oh yeah, I gotta point this out. We'll probably talk about this world more in depth in a later episode, but one of the famous life forms that lives on this world are the Ak Dogs.
Oh, the Ak Dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what Ak Dogs are.
Yeah, the Ak Dogs come from Mace Windu's homeworld.
Did not know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they are pretty cool, aren't they?
I want one.
Yeah, they are pretty cool. As long as they're not biting your fucking face off anyway. But eventually, like, Mace Windu's parents, they would die, from the local wildlife, basically leaving baby Mace an orphan.
Wait, wasn't his parent? Okay, I've seen a comic.
Yeah, I know.
Where he was taken from his parents by the Jedi before they died.
That's always the thing with the continuity. Some things are
fucking plot holes.
But mainly, even in canon, basically his parents were killed by the local wildlife. Like, his mother basically placed him in a tree so that he would survive later.
At least he didn't get left to the wolves or the wildlife like Dooku did.
Yeah, I know, right? So that was very fortunate. And this Jedi anthropologist found this baby, and he was like, hey, this baby is pretty strong in the Force. Could we adopt him?
Oh, look, a baby!
And Mace Windu's clan, so once again, we'll probably get more into depth when we talk about Mace Windu's homeworld, but basically, Mace Windu was at an age where they didn't give him a name or anything like that. So they're like, sure, you could take him. Go ahead.
Oh, so he didn't even have a name.
Nope, he did not.
Aww.
So the Jedi are like, cool. So they brought him back to the Jedi Temple, and in honor of his clan, they basically gave him the last name Windu.
Well, yeah, duh.
Yeah. And of course, he would be given the full name Mace Windu. And Mace Windu, like many of his fellow learners, he would be personally taught by the Grand Master himself, Yoda.
That's cool.
And he would have a couple of interesting masters. The one in canon that I've seen most often is his Maryland Jedi Master named Cecilian Murr. I'll send a quick picture of her as well. She's kind of an interesting character. She just appears once, but Mace Windu's strategy and belief in the light side comes from her.
She has the same resting bitch face as him, so
yeah, like master, like apprentice, right?
Yep, like master, like apprentice.
But another Jedi Master I think is kind of interesting and a little bit of a contrast with Mace Windu himself is this female Jedi Master by the name of Tra Shay, who is basically this plant or tree person. She's very elegant looking.
I've seen this before. Wasn't there another Jedi like this?
Yeah, there was during Exar Kun's episode when he was trying to get a bunch of lightsabers from Ossus.
That's what I thought.
Yep, she's a member of the same race, the Neti.
I like the Neti. They're cool looking.
Yeah, they are cool, and she is the absolute master of Jedi healing.
That's cool.
Yes, and she is a very serene looking Jedi Master, a huge contrast to her apprentice Mace Windu.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so
it's like the sweet, like pink fluffy girl, and just with this big scary bulldog.
Yep, pretty much the bulldog named Princess.
Yep.
But yeah, by the age of 14, the Jedi Council kind of started growing concerned with Windu, as he was the top of his class, but he did not construct a lightsaber of his own. Even though he does have the necessary parts, they're like, hey, Windu, what the fuck are you doing?
Why are you dragging your feet? You need to make your lightsaber.
And yeah, like, he was able to... He basically had the means to assemble his lightsaber 2 years ago, but he's never done it at this point. And the Jedi Council, have a crystal. Yeah, they were all like, Windu, what the fuck? What are you doing? Why haven't you made your lightsaber yet? And Mace Windu simply stated that he wanted a true challenge to find the best pieces for his lightsaber. After much consideration, the council assigned Mace Windu to this in the middle of buttfuck nowhere world called Huracan.
Okay. God, that sent me back to fucking KOTOR 2, asking Bayodir, what components do I still need to make this lightsaber? You still need a lens. Fucker, I have a lens!
But yeah, Huracan is populated by this race of sentient stone people. And at first, Mace Windu... If you really think about it, Mace Windu, when he was younger, acted a lot like Anakin.
Yeah.
He was rash, he was arrogant.
No wonder Mace didn't like Anakin.
He saw a little bit of himself in Anakin. That is very true. But yeah, like, he went to Hurricane, and basically the mission was to, like, negotiate with these people. But they kept throwing rocks at him, like, give a fuck off of our lawn, you little boy. And
the reference to, I think, currently Waterdeep, Stone Tosser does not like Jedi.
Pretty much, yeah. And Mace Windu, like, he was trying to be diplomatic, but, you know, he's all like, oh, I have the powers of the Force. I could deal with these people easily, da-da-da. And he kept running away from them, and they kept chasing after him. Like, he jumped over this massive chasm, and another rock person went after him. And Mace Windu, being Mace Windu, thought the rock person would be fine. They're made of stone, but the moment he impacted the bottom of the chasm, he just shattered like glass. And Mace was like, oh no!
It's like, oh, fuck.
And that's when Mace Windu kind of had a little, what's the word I'm looking for?
Epiphany?
Yeah, he had a little bit of an epiphany. And he kind of, you know, he went down to the chasm and he used the Force to put the rock person back together. Kind of, you know,
Humpty Dumpty
the
style.
little Humpty Dumpty situation. God damn it, Hannah. But the entire point of that was to show a little bit of a, God damn it, why am I not thinking of a word right now? I suppose, like, self-control. Like, he is powerful and he needs to use these gifts wisely, sort of thing.
It's more like the way the Jedi Council says it in the
Yeah.
Council storyline. The Jedi way is to serve.
Yeah, exactly. And after that, the other rock people kind of see Mace Windu as a very noble soul, and that's when they gifted him with this precious Hurricane Crystal, which is the purple crystal he got for his lightsaber.
There are actually hurricane crystals that you can craft for synth weaving, I think, in SWTOR. So it's actually mentioned in game, and I think in...
That is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. And yeah, that's how Mace Windu got his unique purple lightsaber.
That's cool.
It is pretty cool, yeah.
So that's not a crystal you can find on Ilum.
Yeah, exactly. And then over the next decade and a half, Windu would go on many missions, such as returning to his own homeworld, which is where he learned his people's language and all that. There are a couple of comics we'll probably mention in the future, but he had a close connections with the Ogg Dogs, and he actually calmed them through the Force.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is
Typical
pretty cool.
Jedi working their tricks on animals.
Yep, exactly. Mace Windu is regarded as a prodigy within the Jedi Order.
Get in line, buddy!
I know, that sounds like the most redundant thing ever.
Fucking Revan and Exar Kun are like, take a number, bud.
But I think it's kind of much more interesting with Mace Windu. I remember this being a fan theory back in the day. A lot of people assumed that Mace Windu was the original Chosen One, and one of the reasons why he hated Anakin so much was because of jealousy.
That kind of makes sense, but the Chosen One prophecy was older than fucking both of them, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I haven't seen this in any of the research material I had looked into Mace Windu, but I just think I don't know, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense considering his character.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I can see the theory.
I could see the theory too, like Mace Windu, he's powerful in the Force. He does all these incredible things at a young age compared to Anakin, so it makes a whole lot of sense.
I mean, fucking look at Revan. He got his ass kicked over and over and over again, and he's still one of the most memorable Jedi of his time.
Yep, that is very true.
He did nothing but fail, and he's still memorialized.
Failing upwards. God damn. I didn't know this would be the roast Revan episode. But anyway, back to Mace Windu. Mace Windu, he is a prodigy of a Jedi Order. Like, he was able to pass the trials of knighthood much earlier than most other Padawans of his age. And he was later appointed to the Jedi Council at the remarkably young age of 28.
Oh, wow.
This fucker was as old as I am when he made it to the Jedi Council.
Damn, that's young.
Yeah, exactly. However, his invitation was only extended from his exploits during the Arcanian Revolution when he fought the cyborg Gorm the Dissolver. So he joined for a reason.
Okay, cool. So he earned his seat.
Yeah, he did. And from his special privileges on the High Council, he was able to decorate his lightsaber with Electrum, which is an extremely rare metal, which I think is the exact same metal Palpatine used for his lightsaber.
Palpy has those
Papa
for his
Palpy, yeah.
lightsabers.
Yeah, only the most high members of either the Sith or the Jedi can have a drip for their lightsabers.
That makes it even more ironic that they fought.
Yeah, and eventually, Mace Windu would rise to the title of Master of the Order, making him second only to the Grand Master of the Jedi Order.
Yeah, he's essentially the second in command of the Jedi,
Jedi
Order.
Yeah, the vice president, if you will, of the Jedi Order. But yeah, and many have even considered Mace to be equal to Yoda, which is not accurate, but that's his level of prestige at least.
Yeah.
Mace Windu, if it wasn't obvious, he chose the path of Jedi Guardian.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Mace Windu trained mostly in the art of lightsaber combat, becoming an incredibly skilled warrior, and was considered one of the greatest swordsmen ever produced by the Jedi Order.
Well, that happens a lot, so...
Yeah. Like I said in the Darth Plagueis episode, he practically lives in an era of master duelists.
I mean, fucking Dooku, Jaina Solo, fucking Revan again, XR Code again!
Yes, I know, a lot of master swordsmen in Star Wars. But
and
anyway.
fucking Silver! Jesus Christ!
But anyway, Mace Windu kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? He's a master for a reason. He mastered all 7 forms of lightsaber combat completely, even the second form of lightsaber combat.
Duke over here like, I'm better than you. Bitch, no you're not.
But yeah, after that, he decided, you know what? So he has a little bit of an inner darkness with himself. Like I mentioned before a couple times, he kind of has this similar opinion, or I want to say opinion, similar mentality as Anakin was when he was his age.
Yes.
And he has a lot of inner darkness, and he decided, you know what? I'm going to create a new form of lightsaber combat to address my inner darkness and utilize it as a weapon for the light.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that I do appreciate about Mace Windu. And of course, he created Vapaad, alongside fellow Jedi Master Sora Boke, who is a very prominent character in the Dark Horse trilogy. I will send you a picture of him, but he's a weak-way Jedi Master, very serene looking on first impressions.
Yeah, he definitely looks less chaotic than Hondo Ohnaka does.
That is very true. But yeah, we'll get to Zora Boke in a little bit. But yeah, like he would create Vapaad alongside Sora Boke, which, as I mentioned before, channels the dark side into a weapon of the light. And Mace Windu is known as the only Jedi to fully master Vapaad. Quinlan Vos is a close second.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Vo Dooku.
Of fucking course he mastered it. He created it.
That is very true. There are very few people that could actually beat Mace Windu in combat. Vo Dooku, a renowned master of Makashi, was able to beat him in a friendly duel once.
Well, it was a friendly duel.
It was a very friendly duel. And yeah, Mace Windu and Count Dooku were actually legitimately close friends before Dooku went over to the dark side.
Before he joined the Lost One.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, during the Clone Wars, Mace Windu was considered to be one of the only Jedi who could legit stand toe-to-toe against Dooku. He even fought against General Grievous himself, if you remember from the Grievous episode.
Yes.
I would love to go more into depth about that when we do the Labyrinth of Evil novel.
Labyrinth of Evil?
Yeah, it's such a good book.
Put it in the pile.
Yeah, exactly. While he is well known as a swordsman, his power and mastery in the Force is considered incredible and is highly resistant to the lures of the dark side. Channeling his inner darkness into his attacks and even able to use most dark side abilities without succumbing to aggression, such as when he famously used Force Crush on Grievous.
Yep.
Yeah, making him the
asthmatic piece of shit he turned out to be.
Yep, you could thank Mace Windu for coughing Grievous over here. But anyway,
That was the fucking best in the, what was it, the 2003
yeah,
Clone Wars
2003
series?
Clone Wars series made by the creator of Samurai Jack.
Crunch.
Though he is still able to use the Force to enhance his own body to superhuman levels, such as the case when he basically beat the crap out of B2 super battle droids in a Clone Wars TV show, once again. Let's see. He's also powerful enough to force lift and push an ATTE off of a cliff during the Battle of Ryloth, a war machine that weighs over 40 tons.
God damn.
Yeah, so Mace Windu is no schmuck with a Force.
No.
He is also skilled with the application of Force Wave, Force Bellow. However, his most impressive Force ability...
Force Bellow, but not Force Scream.
Yeah.
The fuck?
I know. However, his most impressive Force ability is his application of Shatterpoint, a unique technique that he's exhibited even as a youngling. Shatterpoint, if you want a good TLDR of what Shatterpoint is, it's basically a Force phenomena where you could perceive shatter points, fault lines, in objects, people, or events.
Yeah, it's like the Force is literally telling him, there's something wrong here.
Yeah, pretty much. And particularly adept Force users can perceive these fault lines through the Force and influence them. Like in a good example in the newer Clone Wars TV series is when he shattered like a point of glass in a ATTE walker to save a clone trooper.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. This is a good way of how Mace Windu explains the Shatterpoint ability. It'll be a little bit long, but I think it's interesting for you to listen to.
Okay.
Imagine a crystalline gem, a mineral whose interlocking crystalline structure makes it harder than Durasteel. You could strike one with a 5-kilo hammer and do no more than dent the hammer's face. Yet the same crystalline structure that gives the crystalla strength also gives it shatter points. Points where a precise application of carefully measured force, no more than a gentle tap, will break it into pieces. But to find these shatter points, to use them to shape the gem into beauty and utility, requires years of study, an intimate understanding of crystal structure, and rigorous practice to train the hand in the perfect combination of strength and precision to produce the desired cut. Unless you have a talent like mine, I can see shatter points. The sense is not sight, but see is the closest word basic has for it. It is a perception, a feel of how what look upon fits into the Force, and how the Force bends it into itself and to everything else. I was 6 or 7 years old, well into my training in the Jedi Temple, before I realized that other students, full-grown Jedi Knights, and even wise masters could sense such connections only with difficulty, and only with concentration and practice. The Force shows me strengths and weaknesses, hidden flaws and unexpected uses. It shows me vectors of stress that squeeze or stretch, torque or shear. It shows me how patterns of these vectors intersect to form the matrix of reality. Put simply, when I look at you through the Force, I can see where you break.
God damn.
And that's a very good explanation of what Mace Windu views others through shatter points and all that.
I mean, there's literally a Mace Windu centered book called Shatterpoint.
Yep, very self-explanatory.
I mean, his legacy is referred to as the Shatterpoint legacy.
That is very true. That is very, very true.
Or lineage, not legacy.
Lineage, legacy, potato.
Potato.
Although, as I mentioned before, it isn't just through objects or individuals. Mace Windu can sense a shatter point. He can apply it to events and how one individual can play on a massive scale in the galaxy as a whole.
That's, like, mind-boggling.
It is very mind-boggling, yeah. And And among his other skills, Mace Windu is also a skilled diplomat with the use of his words and legendary reputation to end many conflicts without incidents.
Well, of course, he can eat you with one motherfucker and that stare from Black Snake Moan and be like, okay, we'll work with you.
Yeah, like pretty much like if you want a conflict to end, just send in Mace Windu. His mere presence will make people like, never mind, we give up.
Yeah, just insert the picture of his, like, stare from Black Snake Moan. Just try me, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. You do not want to fuck with Mace Windu, no matter which side of the galaxy you're on. He is also known for his courage and integrity, along with his extensive knowledge.
I found it.
There's that Samuel L. Jackson meme.
Yeah, it's just like, I dare you, motherfucker.
Okay, we give up. But yeah, Mace Windu, he has extensive knowledge of Jedi history and philosophy. It is because of these qualities that Mace Windu was the Council's primary liaison to the Supreme Chancellor.
Yeah.
So basically, if the Chancellor wants to talk with the Jedi Order or anybody from the Jedi Order, Mace Windu is their number one representative that he goes to. Mm-hmm. Like there's this scene in, I'm not sure how far you went into Dark Rendezvous, but there's a scene where Palpatine is talking to Mace Windu, and he's like...
I'm only like 2 chapters in.
Yeah, that's fair. And basically they're having this discussion of Yoda being gone, and Mace Windu is like, it's a devastating blow for all of us, but I'm not sure if I could fill Yoda's shoes. And Palpatine like, you're my primary liaison for a reason. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Mace Windu, he is a very serious individual of the Jedi Order, noted for his grim demeanor and is very cautious to the point of occasional reluctance, a careful chooser of his friends and slow to trust.
Well, duh.
Which makes sense. If you're talking to the guy who could literally see your weaknesses and how you break, he's gotta be cautious all the fucking time.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, like, he even extends this to Yoda at times. One example could be seen before the Battle of Naboo, when Windu thought Yoda was hiding something from him, and he went straight to the Grand Master, like, could you tell me what the fuck is going on?
Like,
and,
stop bullshitting me, you little frog.
And Yoda just stood there, speaking nothing. You know, just letting the silence get to Windu.
Yep, I can see what you mean. Just sitting there with his hands clasped, just...
And he's like, giving Windu a silent treatment, and Windu's all like, any day now, motherfucker. But yeah, Mace Windu, despite his attitude, he's actually a very courageous individual, willing to sacrifice life and limb to save the citizens of a republic. Mm-hmm. And in other forms of life, such as the Zillo Bees from the Clone Wars series.
I've yet to watch that episode. I gotta watch it.
But yeah, despite his harshness and stick up his ass attitude, Mace Windu would absolutely put his life on the line to save yours.
Well, yeah, and did he put his life on the line to save his own apprentice?
Yep, he did. And a couple of occasions, like in the Clone Wars, we'll probably get into this in a little bit, but Mace Windu, he kind of grew uncomfortable around the clone troopers because they share the face of Jango Fett, the very man he beheaded at the Geonosis arena.
Yeah, it's like, oh, the ghosts of my past are haunting me. I don't like this.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there was this one episode of the Clone Wars where Boba Fett wanted to assassinate Mace Windu by setting up an explosive charge outside of his quarters. Mm-hmm. And Mace Windu was like, damn it, now I have to go to another meeting. Trooper, could you put this in my quarters, please? And then explosion follows. And Mace Windu used the Force to drag the dead clone trooper out. And he asked, are you all right, trooper? You know, he obviously cares for the soldiers under his command.
Like all of the Jedi do.
Yeah.
I mean, Clone Mom being the perfect example. Plo Koon.
Yeah, Mace Windu is a very interesting character. But where was I? Okay. But yeah, like Mace Windu, he had no tolerance for corruption and unrest within the Republic. Like, you can imagine Mace Windu as the guy who wants to follow rules to a T, but all of his corruption festering within the Galactic Senate just pisses him the fuck off.
Just motherfuckers intensifies.
I'm tired of all these motherfucking corrupt senators running this motherfucking galaxy.
That's 3 of his other movies we made references to now.
We gotta throw them in when we can, Hannah. But yeah, like, despite his objection towards corruption in the Senate, he still believes in the ideals of a republic as the ideal civilization. And all that. And, you know, he kind of just has to twiddle his thumbs a little bit and let politics play out, because he's a soldier first and foremost.
Oh yeah. I mean, if swearing had been allowed in Star Wars, not like Kark or anything, but actual swear words,
yeah,
you would have bet your ass Mace Windu was sitting in that in Palpatine's office, hands clasped together, just like, this motherfucker.
Pretty much. But, you know, he still believes in the role Jedi keep as peacekeepers. However, the relationship between the Jedi Order and the Galactic Senate made him very, very uncomfortable. 10 times more when the Clone Wars began. Like, they're forcibly turned into Jedi generals instead of glorified peacekeepers. It was a notion that Mace Windu was very uncomfortable with.
Gee, as if that wasn't a big thing with all of the Jedi.
But
that's what pushed Dooku away from the Jedi.
Yeah, very much. But like he held little opinion on members of a Jedi who go against the will of a council, Qui-Gon being one of them.
And I think Anakin.
Yep.
And Obi-Wan.
Yep. Well, okay, Obi-Wan, he had a lot more respect for.
Line.
Yeah. He had a lot more respect for Obi-Wan, because in the you'll hear me mention the novelization of Revenge of the Sith a lot in this episode, but in the novelization, he legit called Obi-Wan not a master of Surisu, but the master of Surisu. That's how much he respected Obi-Wan.
Yeah, but Anakin, no.
No.
Qui-Gon, no.
Like, he would have numerous debates with Qui-Gon, but he admitted that both him and Qui-Gon don't really like these kind of discussions or debates. But he still respects Qui-Gon to a little extent. Like,
well, of course, you have to respect your fellow Jedi.
Yeah, exactly. One of the reasons why he allowed Obi-Wan to adopt Anakin as his apprentice, because that's the last words of Qui-Gon and all that.
Yeah, that was Qui-Gon's last wish. It's like, okay, I have to honor that.
Yeah, exactly. I know it kind of sounds like an oxymoron calling Mace Windu this, but he is a staunch traditionalist. Which I will point out is kind of somewhat challenged in his training and utilization of Vapaad.
Yeah, he's a bit of a walking contradiction.
Yeah, but like, he saw Yoda's behavior as distracting, but he still valued the wisdom of a Grand Master, as everybody should.
Well, fucking obviously. Even in, like, with the original trilogy, Yoda, fucking Frank Oz Yoda is a completely different thing compared to prequel trilogy Yoda, but even then, it's the same Yoda.
Yeah, exactly.
Frank Oz Yoda is still going to be around in the prequel trilogy with Yoda there. So it's like, of course he's going to be a fucking gremlin. He just can't do it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to put on that stern face every once in a while. But yeah, like, despite his reluctance and looking down upon rebellious members of the Jedi Order, Mace Windu always made sure to keep an open mind and heart with his fellow Jedi. Like, there was this one moment in the Clone Wars TV show where Anakin kind of put forward the idea of training rebels on Onderon, you know, the classic proxy war sort of thing. And Mace Windu, the rest of the Jedi Council were kind of against it, but Mace Windu actually liked that idea.
That's surprising.
It is very surprising. But that's one of the things that Mace Windu I could commend Windu for, is that he keeps an open mind on things.
Yeah.
Well, let me see. Like, he legit loves his fellow Jedi. Not to the extent of emotional love, but he loved them like their brother or sister.
I mean, he loves Deppa like a daughter.
Pretty much.
That is his apprentice.
He pretty much calls Deppa Billaba his own daughter.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I say that is why I like the whole idea of the Jedi being a found family.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you make these connections from when you are young.
Exactly.
Your master becomes your parent. and the order around you becomes your home and your family.
Yep, exactly. And here's a nice little quote that kind of points out a positive aspect of Mace Windu's character by his own master, Tra Shah. You see things with hope in your eyes. You believe that given a true choice, people will choose the light. That is your flaw and your strength. Hope must be tempered by reality.
Yeah.
And that's the realist view that Mace Windu kind of goes forward on.
Yeah, I could see that.
And yeah, that's the entire... A lot of people are like, why is he so harsh towards Anakin? The motherfucker can literally see fault lines in every people he interacts with.
It's like if we could see it from Mace Windu's point of view, it's like he looks at Anakin and he sees something wrong.
He has seen splinters and cracks all over this motherfucker. Can you really blame him?
Yeah, and because he is trained to use that from 6 years old, he knows that something is wrong there. And
Yeah.
It's like, if I just apply enough pressure, do I get it to break?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
And it did.
yeah, like there's like a deleted scene from Attack of the Clones where Mace Windu actually recommended Obi-Wan to have faith in Anakin, which kind of goes against his later personality in the Clone Wars and such. But I think it's also coming around to the part that Anakin, he hasn't developed his emotion to Padme yet. But the moment they come back and see Anakin during Geonosis, Mace Windu knows something is up.
Yeah, he's like, what the fuck?
Why is there even more cracks in this motherfucker than before? What the hell?
Yeah, it's like, shit sus, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. And like when the Clone Wars began, Mace Windu kind of grew uncomfortable, but it was kind of a position that he knew was a necessary evil, if that makes any sense. Like, instead of being shields for a Republic, he is committed to being swords of a Republic, like bringing peace to the galaxy. We need to do this, because if we stand by and do nothing, many people, many citizens will suffer.
Yep.
Like, yes...
The intentions there are great. I mean, that's what, and I think a lot of Jedi did think.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, if you look at, as the war goes on, like Barriss Offee, who got disillusioned with it after having suffered through it. And and she's a kid.
Yep.
Yeah, anyway.
But like, there's this interesting, I want to say point where it goes into, so Mace Windu has his own little journal, which we'll mention later down the line, but it kind of goes into his inner thoughts about his regrets of doing things differently during the Battle of Geonosis, when he went up to Count Dooku and before the ultimate climax, and all the Jedi that he lost during that day.
Yep.
That weighs heavily on a motherfucker. But here is his exact quote about that occasion. In my dreams, the purple flare of my blade sizzles the gray hairs of Dooku's beard, and in the critical semi-second it takes Jango Fett to aim and fire, I twitch that blade and take Dooku with me into death, and save the galaxy from civil war. I could have done it. I could have done it, because I knew I could feel it. In the swirl of a force around me, I could feel the connections Dooku had forged among Jango Fett and the Trade Federation, the Geonosians, the whole separatist movement. Connections of greed and fear, of deception and bold ambition. I did not know what they were. I did not know how Dooku had forged them or why, but I felt their power. The power of what I now know is a web of treason he had woven to catch the galaxy. I could feel that without him to maintain its weave, to repair its flaws and double its thinning strands, the web would rot, would shrivel and decay, until a mere breath could shred it and scatter its strings into the infinite solar winds. Dooku was the Shatterpoint. I knew it. That is my gift. Situations have Shatterpoints like gems, but those of situations are fluid, ethereal, appearing for the bare instant, vanishing again to leave no trace of their existence. They are always a function of timing. There is no such thing as a second chance. If when I next encounter Dooku, he will be the war Shatterpoint no longer. I can't stop this war with a single death. But on that day, in the Geonosian arena, I could have.
Okay, 2 things. First, we need journals now.
Yep.
Like via the Book of the Sith.
Yep.
I want that. I will buy that. Give me. And second, he has such bad survivor's guilt.
Yes, he does.
Because he knows he could have stopped it.
He could have stopped the Clone
sad.
Wars right then and there. But because he believed Dooku to be one of his closest friends, he kind of hesitated. And that cost him dearly for a long run.
That's so sad.
It is very sad. It gives a lot of additional context for Mace Windu and his gruff attitude towards everything.
Oh, yeah, but that made me a little teary. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
He has this just big fucking weight of survivor's
The
guilt
weight of the
on
entire
him.
galaxy and Civil War on his shoulders.
Not
He
only
could have
that-
prevented that.
Not only that, he has the weight of the deaths of his fellow Jedi at Geonosis.
Yep.
It's like he's thinking, I could have prevented that with just this one little thing.
At the cost of my own life, granted, but
But
it's
he was
better
willing
than that.
to die for it.
Yes, he was.
That made me a little teary.
Yeah, motherfucking, I made you feel bad for Mace Windu.
Yeah, never would I have thought I would feel bad for that motherfucker, but yeah.
Yeah, like I said, Mace Windu is a fascinating character.
He's very complex, and that's
very,
what I
very
like about
complex,
characters.
which is unfortunately something you won't be able to see in the context of free movies.
No, unfortunately.
But yeah,
But that's why the novels exist.
yeah, exactly. A
The
spin-off
good novels.
Yeah, a spin-off Shatterpoint series would be awesome, I must say.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, let me briefly talk about his relationship with Anakin. Because it's always been an intense one, to put it simply. Mace Windu does have a fair amount of respect for Anakin. Like, in the Clone Wars. Okay, so Mace Windu... have you ever seen that meme from Harry Potter where, I forget the name of a professor, but she brings Hermione, Harry...
McGonagall.
Yeah. And she...
Why is it always you three?
Why is it always you, Free? But change it with Mace Windu talking to Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Anakin.
The disaster. That's why they're called the disaster lineage.
Yeah, that's what I'm imagining Mace Windu is asking every time he looks at Anakin.
It's like, why is it always you three?
Why is it always you, Free? And specifically that motherfucker. And like Anakin, he is a roller coaster of emotions, and Mace Windu kind of knows that.
Well, I think everybody fucking knows that.
Not to the extent that we as the audience know, but yeah, they have a good idea of what's going on.
But I mean, again, with the Shatterpoint thing, Mace looks at Anakin and sees so much fucking wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, he legitimately respects Anakin as this peerless warrior
Yes.
and commander. Like, he has that down for him.
Yes.
And if Anakin wasn't so much of an emotional roller coaster, Mace Windu might have a larger respect for Anakin as the chosen one.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
It's just Anakin thinks be with his emotions before actually thinking about
Yeah,
things.
exactly. Mace Windu is kind of the opposite of that.
Yes.
Use your inner darkness for towards the light, sort of thing.
And that's not what Anakin is doing.
No, he is not. But no, like, okay, so there's this other episode of the Clone Wars where Anakin and Mace Windu are trapped under debris, and Anakin is having R2-D2 kind of rescue them and go get help and all that. And then afterwards, Mace Windu is all like, hey, R2, good job, buddy. And Anakin jokingly says, that's more respect than I'll ever get.
That's funny. Just pat him on the head. Good job, buddy. Damn, he gave you more respect than I ever got.
Which I think is absolutely hilarious.
That's very funny.
But no, like, there's this one comment I remember. Obi-Wan basically tells Anakin, I think Mace Windu has a face specifically for you.
That's the motherfucker face.
Yeah, exactly, motherfucker. What did you do this time?
Stare.
But But no, it kind of also changes a little bit during the Revenge of the Sith, but we'll get to that in a little bit, because it is an important turning point in Mace Windu as a character.
Okay.
But yeah, like, aside from Anakin's tomfuckery throughout the Clone Wars, Mace Windu had to deal with many other former friends betraying the Jedi Order.
Yep.
Dooku being one of them. And you remember Sora Bulk from earlier?
Yeah.
Later down the line, this is covered in the Dark Horse comics, but Mace Windu basically found out that Sora Bulk betrayed the Jedi Order and joined Dooku's side as a Dark Jedi.
Fucking M. Night Shyamalan. What a twist!
And basically, Mace Windu kind of realizes that it was a mistake exposing Sora Bulk to Vapaad. Because in his words,
He didn't temper his inner darkness.
Yeah, exactly. And as Mace Windu puts it, you didn't master Vapaad. Vapaad mastered you.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I remember there was this journal entry where Anakin wanted to learn Vapaad, but everybody's like, no, no, motherfucker, you will not.
That's
I
funny.
forbid it.
Just all side, fucking everyone. It's like the God scene from Monty Python.
Yeah.
No!
Pretty much. And later down the line, Dibba B'Elanna, she was also a practitioner of Vapaad, but eventually the dark side consumed her and she turned to the dark side. And Mace Windu was kind of forced to duel with her. He didn't kill her, fortunately, but she was in a coma for the rest of the Clone Wars after
Yeah,
that.
she ended up in a bacta tank.
Yeah, it was a... You could imagine how
How fucking guilty would you feel if you put your own quote-unquote child into a coma?
Yeah, exactly. And not to mention, all of his former friends, Dooku, Sora Bulk, his own daughter, turned to the dark side. All of his former circle of friends are changing, and not for the better.
Yep.
And that weighs very heavily on Mace Windu. He has a huge guilt complex going on here with the Clone Wars.
That's not a guilt complex. That's just guilt.
Yeah, like I once again going to mention the Revenge of the Sith novelization again. There's like an extension of the scenes that you see in the movie, but during that time, when the Battle of Coruscant happened, basically a lot of Jedi were recalled from the Outer Rim sieges, and Mace Windu was part of those sieges. When he was conversing with Yoda and Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan kind of made the observation that Mace Windu looks a little bit different. Like he's got that empty look in his eyes. Like the world, the weight of the galaxy has been on his shoulders for 3 years straight.
To quote another movie, not exactly a Samuel L. Jackson movie, but
Go on.
I'm tired, boss.
Pretty much. That's pretty much Mace Windu. And even the Kenobi kind of realizes that Mace Windu looks like he could snap at any moment.
Yep, he is at his limit and he is fucking tired.
Yeah, exactly. And not to mention, like, okay, I know I kind of skipped over this earlier, but Mace Windu kind of had a good amount of respect for Palpatine. Because in his words, he saw the Shatterpoint on Palpatine, which basically said that this guy will change the galaxy. Mace Windu kind of...
he thought that in the different way.
Yeah, pretty
Not the
much.
way
Like,
he-
this motherfucker, this guy will change the Republic for the better, that sort of thing. But as the years go on, and specifically in The Revenge of the Sith, his respect for Palpatine basically went rock bottom, especially when Palpatine kind of strong-armed the Jedi Council and having Anakin be his personal representative on the council. Yeah, that entire scene where Mace Windu's like, take a seat, young Skywalker.
Again, motherfucker intensifies.
Pretty much. And yeah, like, let me see if I could get back to the, okay. Now, yeah, I already talked about that.
I have a new sticker idea.
What is that?
Instead of fucking Lazarus from Black Snake Moan, it's the same stare, just Mace Windu. Just
That would be pretty good. That would be very, very good, yeah.
yes, new sticker idea.
But yeah, like, ultimately, so yeah, the novelization kind of goes into a good amount of depth on Mace Windu's mentality during that time. Like, Mace, okay, so if you remember in the Galactic Senate episode, there there was at one point where Mace Windu was close on betrayal of who Darth Sidious was.
Yes.
And in that quote, like, they had a list of people that are suspects, I should say. And he direct quote said, "The only reason Palpatine isn't a suspect is because he already rules the galaxy." Now, out of context, you might think that sounds stupid.
That does sound stupid.
Sounds a little bit stupid for Mace Windu to assume, but you gotta keep it in mind from his perspective. They're looking for a Sith. Not exactly, okay, they're thinking of a Sith from the days of the Old Republic. Cunning for sure, but they're not subtle at all.
Yes.
Like, you're picturing Darth Maul.
Subtlety to the Sith Empire was nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
They were over the top for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, they were looking at very shifty characters in Palpatine's inner circle, like Mas Amedda, Saint Pestage, who is a very shifty-looking human. They even suspected that Darth Sidious may have been among the hooded Red Guard, which, you know, thinking about it, that would actually be a nice little cover.
I mean, they do look like Sith.
Yeah, exactly. And the only reason...
Palpatine fucking ripped those armor designs right from Vicious Empire.
Yeah, pretty much.
He looked at the Dark Honor Guard and said, "Mine."
But getting back to the point, like Mace Windu didn't outright say that Palpatine himself wasn't involved. Like, at the very most, he might have been a very shifty, corrupt politician, but not a Sith. Probably a puppet for Darth Sidious, but not the Sith Lord himself, sort of thing. Like, it makes sense when you think about it from their perspective.
Yeah, but looking at it from the rule of two perspective.
Yeah, I know. They're looking at the Sith that are going around with a large red lightsaber, frothing out of the mouth, rage-filled monsters. When in reality, They were looking in the complete different direction to the Sith that are hiding in plain view.
That was the whole point of the rule of two.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like in the novelization, it basically said, like in the fight between Yoda and Palpatine, Yoda was having this inner monologue, like, the Jedi have been training for generations to fight against the Sith. But the Sith evolved. The Jedi didn't.
Yes.
And that's
God damn, is that an accurate statement?
That is a very accurate statement.
Holy shit.
But anyway, getting back to Mace Windu. So we're going to lead up to the confrontation in Palpatine's office and all that. In the novelization, Mace Windu heard about the destruction of Grievous and all that, and he was about to go confront Palpatine, but then he notices Anakin. In the novelization, it basically gives greater context. Like in the movie, Anakin and Mace Windu were trading dialogue, but Anakin, he has been sleep deprived for many days because of the visions of Padme dying and all that.
He's probably got dark circles under his eyes.
Yeah, and this was right after Palpatine told him that, I'm Sidious the entire time.
It's like, you could tell this man is going through some shit.
Yeah, like in the scene, it literally says that Anakin can't stand up straight. He has to lean against a wall to even stand up and talk to Mace Windu.
Oh, poor thing.
Yeah, he is absolutely sleep deprived. And Mace Windu was legit concerned.
Like, dude, you good?
Yeah, he was like, Anakin, the greatest hero of the entire Republic, what has gotten you into this state, so on and so forth. And
just, you good, bro?
And Anakin, he had to... He was struggling to provide the words to Mace Windu, but he eventually said, Palpatine is Darth Sidious. And in that one instant where Mace Windu was all like, a Sith Lord? Like, on the surface, Mace Windu is calm and collected.
On the inside, motherfucker intensifies!
Underneath, he is freaking the fuck out. Like, it basically said in the novel that he was basically as vulnerable as a pile of sand, but then a second later solidified into rock. Because he is the master of the Jedi Order. Yep. He has to keep that facade, so to speak.
Yep.
And, like, he was talking to Anakin, and from his point of view, let me give you an exact quote of what he saw in Anakin at that moment. The tangled web of fault lines in the Force he had seen connecting Anakin to Obi-Wan and to Palpatine was no more. In their place was a single spider knot that sang with enough power to crack the planet. Anakin Skywalker no longer had Shatterpoints. He was a Shatterpoint. The Shatterpoint. Everything depended on him. Everything.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, and
That's not good.
yeah, man, you gotta think about it from his perspective. Like
He's literally standing there like, oh no.
Like, one thing I do appreciate about Mace Windu, instead of like freaking the fuck out, he has stayed relatively calm, and he knew that he had to deal with Palpatine right here and now. Otherwise, shit would be fucked.
Yep.
And a lot of people are asking, why didn't Mace Windu bring Anakin with him? He could have been a helpful asset. You gotta think about it in his perspective. Anakin sees Palpatine as his father figure, and this new revelation.
Because he's got daddy issues.
Yeah, got a little bit of daddy issues, and this new revelation. And in this moment, whatever Anakin does would determine the fate of the galaxy. And Mace Windu kind of saw him as a liability.
Yeah, he's like, no, you could potentially fuck things up.
Yeah.
Severely. You're staying right the fuck here.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I said, the novelization provides greater context in this instance.
The movies did not give that context.
Yeah, exactly. And Mace Windu got together with Kit Fisto, Stacey Tin, the Zabrak Jedi I can't remember the name of. Not Eve Koff, it was a different Zabrak.
Insert name here.
Yeah, insert name here. Oh, god damn it. Agent Kolar, I think his name was. God damn it. Anyway, I also like this scene in the novelization where Mace Windu confronted Palpatine. Like, you're under arrest, Supreme Chancellor. And instead of that entire scene, Palpatine was playing it relatively cool. He's like, why are you arresting me? I'm just a humble Supreme Chancellor. And Mace Windu...
So it was a calm scene instead of, I am the Senate.
Yeah, pretty much. And Mace Windu was kind of...
What's my voice?
And Mace Windu was pretty much like a... Goddamn it. Why am I... Okay, so he was saying, you are a Sith. And Palpatine was like, yeah, and? Like, I can't...
It's that fucking meme of the woman yelling at the cat.
Pretty much. Pulling in a lot of good memes this episode. I love it. But no, if I can remember the exact insert, Palpatine has said something along the lines of like, yeah, so what if I am a Sith? My own religious inclinations are a personal matter. Last time I checked, it's not against the rules to worship the Sith, blah, blah, blah.
That's fucking funny. It's like, that's just my religion.
Yeah, pretty much. And he's
pulling the fucking religion card.
And he was all like, and last time I checked the Constitution, there are laws that protect me from such persecution. So I ask again, what is my alleged crime?
It's like, that's just my religion. Freedom of religion, bro.
Pretty much. He's pulling that card on Mace Windu.
Oh my god.
And then he turns over to Stacey Tin and he's like, Stacey Tin, you're a member of a telepathic race. Reach out through the Force and read my mind and see if Mace Windu is telling the truth. And at that moment, Stacey Tin kind of lowered his lightsaber and reached out through the Force, and Palpatine's like, ha ha!
Yep.
Like, Palpatine's pulling a lot of the cunning cards in this little affair, which I absolutely like.
Well, he's had plenty of time to prepare it.
And at this moment, most of Mace Windu's compatriots are just dead. And Mace Windu, he had to use Vapaad to its highest limits for the first time ever.
This is where we describe the infamous battle.
Yeah, pretty much, where they were fading in and out of existence. Because number one, it's happening from Anakin's perspective. Like, he's flying by the window of a Supreme Chancellor's office while this happened. And Mace Windu is repelling the dark side back at Palpatine. So they're relatively of equal strength in that regard.
Yeah, just flashes of purple and red.
Yeah, pretty much. And he, as seen in the movie, he wins against Palpatine and has him at lightsaber point.
No.
Like I said, the novelization provides a lot of better context in this situation.
But it also tends to mischaracterize people.
Yeah, exactly. Dooku, that aside. And Mace Windu, like, he literally is sensing a pulsar of fear which he assumes is coming from Palpatine, and he's like,
No, it was coming from Anakin.
Yeah, like he was talking to Palpatine, like, you have lost. Your reign is over. I could sense your fear. And Palpatine kind of just has that shit-eating grin.
He's like, it's not me, motherfucker.
You are a fool to believe that the fear is coming from me. And that entire time, Mace Windu was in full tunnel vision mode. Like, initially
He couldn't even care less if Anakin was there.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, he was focused purely on Palpatine. Initially, he did want to arrest him, but then after thinking things through and how powerful Palpatine is, he's all like, this motherfucker needs to die.
Yes.
Because
that's the rational decision here.
Yeah, the most rational decision you could ever make. But number one, like, Palpatine, not only is he powerful, but number two, he is well loved by the Senate. If he was placed on trial, it would be a joke.
Yeah.
Like, it would be a foregone
conclusion.
conclusion.
Other trials that are going on.
Yeah, like, it would be a foregone conclusion. If that entire duel in his office would have been for nothing.
Yep.
Kit Fisto, Stacey Tin's death would have been for naught.
Yep, and Kit Fisto's death. Rip.
Yeah, rip Kit Fisto. And Mace Windu, he kind of realized that Palpatine basically threw the battle to get him in a sympathetic point of view from Anakin's perspective.
Yep, he's playing the feeble old man.
Yeah, because let's be honest, if roles were reversed, Anakin would have absolutely turned on Palpatine.
He would have.
Yeah, and Palpatine was just using, Mace Windu kind of realized that Palpatine was playing him like a fiddle. And he was like, he's too dangerous to be kept alive.
That last minute, aw, shit.
Yeah, and Mace Windu, he kind of realized his mistake of not paying attention to Anakin as, he cut his arm off and Palpatine just electrocuted him the fuck out of him and sent him out of the window.
And that is where he, quote-unquote, dies.
Quote-unquote dies, yeah. That Mace Windu's death...
At least in the context of the movie.
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of up in the air if Samuel L. Jackson will return as Mace Windu, but it's always a good what if.
He and Hayden just appeared at Star Wars Celebration Japan.
Oh, that's pretty cool, yeah.
High hopes.
High hopes indeed. But anyway.
They brought Hayden back for the Ahsoka series.
Oh, yeah,
multiple
is true.
times.
That is very true.
The least they could do is bring back Mace.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, the death of Mace Windu was basically the final coffin in the destruction of the
nail
Jedi
in the
Order.
coffin.
Yeah. But yeah, like that entire scene where Mace Windu basically called Palpatine a Sith, because Palpatine beforehand activated recorders in his entire office to play before the Senate. Mm-hmm. To basically say, the Jedi, they are aggressors. They try to surmount my power, that sort of thing.
Plot twist, got on recording, you're a Sith Lord. Oh no! It's like, well, that didn't work out.
Yeah, but Mace Windu pretty much became the poster boy scapegoat for the New Order.
That sucks.
Like, he was seen as the primary villain behind the Jedi Rebellion, and within a week after his death, numerous media outlets began circulating the private journals of Mace Windu.
Aw, what the fuck?
Like, there were some hints of truth in there, but a lot of them were just fabrications.
It's fucking made-up propaganda to
pretty much,
slander
yeah.
him.
Pretty much.
Just like how they said Plo Koon crashed into a Geonosian nursery.
Yep.
Or Nemoidian nursery, pardon me.
Yeah, Nemoidian nursery, yeah. But yeah, and in the history books taught by the Empire, it recounted that Mace Windu was the leader of a criminal gang that interfered with a legal execution taking place on Geonosis.
I sure hope Luke taught his students better.
Oh yes, he does.
Good.
But let me see. A year later, a senator was sold a broken lightsaber by a Duros trader who claimed it belonged to Mace Windu.
May or may not have.
Yeah. When the senator asked where he found the lightsaber, the Duros simply said he found it in the streets.
So that again, the up in the air.
Yeah, the body was never found.
The body was never found. All we saw was that he got yeeted out into the quote-unquote streets of Coruscant.
I'm just reminded of that Robot Chicken episode with the janitor. Mace Windu falls down and was like, I gotta get transferred to the Death Star.
That's funny.
It is very funny.
That's a time continuation there. That's a plot hole.
But anyway, where was I? Okay. And Sidious himself referred to Mace Windu as a mighty Jedi, rumored to have possessed the only purple lightsaber in the galaxy, and as a way to convince Mara Jade that she was special when he gifted her a purple lightsaber.
My version of Jaden would like to say, fuck you. Yes, I gave my Jaden a purple lightsaber.
Yeah. And while a majority of the galaxy may have turned against Mace Windu, uniquely enough, the Twi'leks of Ryloth remember his heroic deeds during the Battle of Ryloth.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
he was very significant in Ryloth.
Yeah, exactly. Even Cham Syndulla himself spoke highly of Mace Windu. The final battle at Lesu, spoken in the songs of our people, called the Hammer of Lesu.
That's cool.
It is pretty cool. Like, it was mentioned briefly in a episode of Rebels where Kanan Jarrus was all like, Master Windu spoke highly of your offensive at the Battle of Lesu.
Why the hell didn't Kanan ever speak of, like, Depa or Mace to Ezra?
I have no idea, but it would have been a huge missed potential.
That's, again, wasted potential.
Exactly, yeah.
You could have built up so much about the Shatterpoint lineage. Oh, it's such a mystery. Plot twist, Kanan Jarrus is the fucking
Shatterpoint,
quote-unquote heir to the Shatterpoint lineage.
And then Ezra Bridger, if you think about it.
Well, yes, anyway, but...
But anyway,
wasted potential makes me so mad.
I know. But aside from that, during the Galactic Civil War, a bootleg HoloNet broadcast were made showing animations of Windu's famous Battle of Dantooine, which is the entire battle Mace Windu was at in the old Clone Wars TV show.
Oh, interesting.
So the Rebel Alliance actually used that as a huge piece of propaganda, like the Empire is telling a lie. This is actually Mace Windu. Join our side.
That's cool.
Yeah, so a nice little win for Mace Windu down the line.
Posthumously.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
And even Luke Skywalker himself was able, when he was creating the new Jedi Order, was able to restore Mace Windu's good name, and even regarded him in high esteem. Even Jaina Solo, the granddaughter of Anakin Skywalker, revered Mace Windu, especially his ability in Shatterpoint.
Well, of course. It makes me wonder, how would Mace Windu look at Luke Skywalker? Especially because of how much he did not like Anakin.
Yeah, and it's also kind of an interesting context because in Luke Skywalker's journal entries, he talked highly about Mace Windu, and if he stopped what happened in the Chancellor's office from happening and actually kill Sidious, the galaxy would have been saved from his perspective.
Yep, and that's 3 Shatterpoints he could have done.
Yep.
And changed.
Yep.
But like you said in the quote, gone in an instant.
Yep. Mace Windu, he is an interesting character. He is definitely very, very flawed.
Not only flawed, that's tragic.
It is very tragic.
If you look at it.
Yep.
Or from a certain point of view, it is tragic.
Yeah.
I still need to read that book.
Oh, man. Yeah, like I said, Mace Windu is a legitimately interesting character. Wish we could have gotten more about him in media like the Clone Wars TV show, so on and so forth. But at least the details that we currently do have make him very, very intriguing.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Yeah, and it adds a lot more flavor to his character other than played by Samuel L. Jackson is cool.
And just badass motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that is...
he is a badass motherfucker.
He is a badass
But he's also very nuanced.
Yeah. But yeah, that is our episode on Mace Windu. I'm sure your opinion on him has completely changed after this.
I didn't really have an opinion on him aside from, he's an asshole. No,
yeah.
Now I know. He is very nuanced, but he's still an asshole.
Yeah, he's still an asshole, but he's an asshole
with a heart of gold.
With a heart of gold, and he's an asshole he's an asshole for a reason because of his unique gift of Shatterpoint.
Yes.
But anyway, that is our episode of Can Mayonnaise Kill a Jedi? Or in this case,
tally up the motherfuckers.
Tally up the motherfuckers. Yeah. Oh man, that was a very long episode. I'm going to kill myself later after this, but yeah, I had a lot of fun. Thank you, Mboss, for recommending Mace Windu. I hope you enjoyed this episode along with the rest of my viewers.
Oh, hell yeah. This was fun.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't sure what I was thinking going into this. I thought, oh, it's just going to be another episode. I'm not going to really enjoy it. But yeah, excuse me. I enjoyed it. I was very thoroughly engaged.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, this was a good episode.
It was a very good episode. I am so glad I found those motherfucking quotes. Because if I went in without the quotes, it wouldn't have gotten the emotional weight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you everybody for listening to this episode of Can Mayonnaise Kill a Jedi. Any closing statements, Hannah?
Are we not going to talk about what we're covering next? Or is that a secret for the next episode?
Oh, I'll make it a secret for now.
All right.
But anyway, may the Force be with you.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Find the Shatterpoint.
Find your Shatterpoint today before it's too late. Bye-bye.
Bye.